So there's a question I'm very often asking at the start of conversations. Have you heard of parkour? And for a long time, the confused answer was, what parkour? When I started 7 years ago, parkour was just this cool thing from videos on the internet. And I was one of the first people in Adelaide to explore what parkour was. Unlike today, where many of you may have heard of parkour before, people had no idea what I was trying to do. And for the most part, neither did I. Now, a few years later, I've reached a bit of an understanding, and I'll try and give you a short answer to the question, what is parkour? In Adelaide, it looks a little bit like this. So that's a quick visual introduction to parkour, but there's actually far more going on behind that. The Australian Parkour Association has developed a definition. Parkour is a method of physical training that develops one's ability to overcome obstacles, both physical and mental. It involves movement that will help if one is in a reach or escape emergency situation. Underpinning this is a philosophy of altruism and useful strength, self-improvement and self-understanding. So we're developing skills and strengths that we can use to put to action for a purpose. And in doing so, we're going on an exploration of the self. I'd like to point out one word that's not there: sport. Parkour is a non-competitive discipline. This means you train for yourself and go at your own pace. Parkour is only concerned with who you are and improving what you can do. You have no shoes? Train barefoot. There are people with missing limbs or cerebral palsy who train parkour, and many would say they're making more of it than we are. I started parkour because it looked fun, but I discovered as I trained that it's going to change you in areas you'd never even considered. The obvious one is fitness, but it's not normal fitness, it's useful fitness, building the capacity to move, and it's, contrary to sensationalized views, has a very low injury rate. There's also a great social side to parkour, but I want to talk about the self-improvement and self-understanding. Parkour was founded very much with the idea of the warrior spirit. The idea that you will go to war with yourself and the concrete, test yourself and succeed. This is a hard thing to learn, but one of parkour's greatest lessons. Through this training, you learn to overcome irrational fear. You learn to trust yourself. You develop mindfulness, knowing your body, your mind, how it works and how it might be behaving on any particular day. You learn a mindset that obstacles become opportunities. And the progression in your ability is easy to see and experience. This means that you very quickly learn the correlation between your work, effort, and discipline and your results. And this teaches you how to set goals. The way of tackling obstacles also inspires a creativity and critical thinking, which is key to that self-exploration. There's also, as Kristen mentioned, the more literal side to exploration and engagement with your environment. It brings a sense of freedom. People often call it Parkour Vision, When you walk around the city, it no longer seems like a restrictive place of work. It looks like a playground, and it connects you to your local spaces. Trained properly, parkour is a very well-rounded discipline, and the beauty is that the benefits aren't the goal. The enjoyment of parkour and a healthy parkour community is what brings them. I only have one example for you today of the transformative power of parkour. In Westminster in the UK, the local council decided they would implement a parkour program for the youth. When they did so, youth crime fell by 69%. So what are we doing? What am I doing? I am exploring the potential of a parkour community to make change from the bottom up, and what we've achieved so far is just the start. Last year across Australia, we had 10,000 class participations, and considering that we deliberately teach people to not need our classes, that number represents a lot of people training. In Adelaide, we offer classes regularly that we try and keep as cheap as possible. We're also training and mentoring young practitioners to become awesome instructors and great leaders. We've had the Lord Mayor and several councils offer support. We've done demonstrations and performances at a number of events, and we've also done workshops in areas such as schools, as well as teaching youth organisations and police officers. And parkour is proving a great tool for working with disadvantaged youth. We also look after our local spaces, and we've even helped design and build parkour parks and playgrounds. And recently, we somehow managed to negotiate the bureaucracy and get some keys to an inner city warehouse, which is now established and working towards sustainability. The warehouse fills a lot of roles for us. It's a place for hard training, a place for socialising. It's a base for our classes, as well as our instructor training programs, as well as impromptu teaching and learning, and it's now the home of an awesome and fast-growing community. But the warehouse is not just for parkour. It's a hub for other similar disciplines and groups as well. And these are things that we're calling movement culture. Activities that are focused on cooperation, self-development, discipline, and health, but primarily are fun. Forget getting fit, find something you actually enjoy doing, and then let the benefits follow from that. We threw a movement culture festival on our little side street earlier in the year, so I'm going to show you what movement culture can look like with some footage from the street party and some other footage. So people seemed really excited by this idea. We're making a lot of waves around Adelaide, and hopefully we're also improving a lot of lives. And just recently, something clicked for me. Australia is recognised as a great sporting nation, and yet we have a very high rate of obesity. So it's clearly a gap in the middle where people aren't doing much. So I think it's time for a change, and I hope movement culture can be that answer. So get moving. Thank you.